Well, hello and welcome to another LinkedIn Live Q&A where I'm delighted to be joined by Sophie Milliken, who is an award-winning entrepreneur. She's a speaker. She's the MD of SRS Recruitment and Employability Experts, and she's also a published author whose second book, The Ambition Accelerator, is out today. How's it going? How's it going, Sophie? Exciting day for you.
It is an exciting day, yes. So we've gone live with the Kindle offer today. So for today and tomorrow only, you can get the book on Amazon for only 99 pence, which is an absolute bargain. And all of the sales from today and tomorrow are going to Smartworks Newcastle, which is an amazing charity. So hoping to raise lots of money for them.
Yeah, amazing. Well, I've already bought my Kindle copy this morning, so I've downloaded that. And we were just talking before we went live. On the app, it doesn't always give you the option of buying the Kindle edition. So what I did, I bought it through my iPad. So I would encourage anyone listening to go onto the iPad or laptop and buy the Kindle edition that way, and then they can definitely buy it for 99 pence and the money goes to the charity that you're talking about. So do you want to say briefly about Smartworks, who they are?
Yes, I would love to. So Smartworks is just an incredible charity, and I'm so proud to be associated with it. So I've recently taken on the post of chair at Smartworks Newcastle, and Smartworks, it's a national charity with branches in a number of big cities throughout the UK. And what we do is we support unemployed women to help them get back into work. So we do this by helping them to, in terms of job coaching, so preparing them for interviews, but also, and this is the USP really for Smartworks, by dressing them for their interview. So they'll come in, at the moment it's a remote service, but they'll come in and they'll have a dressing session with one of our dressing volunteers who will, to help them to choose an outfit that's going to make them feel confident when they're going for that interview. So it's an incredible charity. It's so aligned to what I'm about in terms of employability and supporting women. So yeah, really, really cool charity.
Yeah, amazing. Okay, so definitely encourage anyone to buy a copy today and tomorrow, so the money can go to them. So and that is it's a perfect fit for you and your background. You've had a long, successful career in HR and recruitment and talent and development, and the role that you're doing now at SRS. So again, do you want to just briefly say what SRS is?
Yeah, sure. So SRS, we've been going since 2013, which is quite a long time now, isn't it? It feels quite a long time. And we work mostly with employers and universities within the graduate recruitment space. So we're pretty niche. We support employers by designing their assessment materials and processes, and also helping them to recruit their graduates and early talent. And then on the other side, we work with universities to help them to prepare their students to get graduate jobs. And we're most well known for doing this by running large-scale assessment centre simulations, which we were running in football stadiums up and down the country until the pandemic hit, which caused us to do an epic pivot to being doing digital versions, which is what we're doing at the moment.
Okay, amazing. Yeah, and before that, you were senior. You were the HR director or talent director?
I was in charge of graduate recruitment for John Lewis. So I was there for 12 years, joined on their graduate scheme at John Lewis in Newcastle, and then went off on a 6-month secondment, which is a classic John Lewis move, down to London, and then never went back. Was down there for about 8 years. I loved it. It was such a cool role. So yeah, was responsible for all of the graduate recruitment across the partnership, and then apprentice recruitment as well. And that kind of got me the bug of graduate recruitment, really. Just fell in love with it, enjoyed being able to work with other employers. There's some really strong networking in that industry, and also with the universities and ultimately the students. And they're a good bunch to work with. So yeah, brilliant.
Amazing. Well, great great company to work for, and I think a lot of people have like a brand crush on John Lewis still, and they're like if you could live in a John Lewis world for the rest of your life, you'd be happy, I think, would you?
Yeah. It was a great business. It is a great business, and I enjoyed all of the roles that I did there. I mean, I must have had about 20 different jobs over the years that I was with John Lewis, but it was that last one that I was in for 5 years, which obviously had a huge impact on what happened next. So that I would never have moved into this business and set this business up, and just wouldn't have happened. So got a lot to be grateful to John Lewis for.
Yeah. Well, then, so that leads us on nicely to what the book's all about, because you obviously took that what some people would say is a bold move to leave an amazing company like John Lewis to set up a company in 2017. So SRS.
2013.
Oh, 2013. I got my dates wrong.
Yeah. Well, it was in 2017 that I ended up running it on my own. So I set it up in 2013 with a business partner, and then it was on my own from 2017.
Okay. And so yeah, was that difficult to do? A difficult decision to do and to make that move?
You know what? It was yes and no. So it was when I look back, I think it was a bit bonkers, really. Be like, who leaves this sort of secure corporate job to go and set up a business? But actually, I think in some ways, sort of small businesses, SMEs, have become actually more secure jobs than some of these big corporates. Especially retail is a really, really difficult space to be in at the moment. And what happened at that point was that there was a restructure within HR at that point. I was living back in Newcastle, had an 8-month-old baby, and was commuting to London to do my job. It was only once a week that I was doing that mental journey, but it was full on. And then they were reviewing the whole HR function, and my role was changing a lot, and it wasn't going to be all the bits that I really enjoyed. And also they were moving my team out to Bracknell, and that is pretty far. So getting down to London was actually, it was a long journey, but it was quite a nice journey. And once I got off the tube at King's Cross, it was 5 stops on the Victoria line over to the office. To get out to Bracknell would have added a couple of hours onto that journey, and it just wasn't practical. So it was a great opportunity to leave. It was a chance conversation with my co-founder that kind of set the business up. And I just think, I look back and I think it was a risk, but I'm so glad I did it. And I'm so glad of the timing of it as well. I talk in the book about the fact that I got divorced about 6 months after setting the business up. Had that been the other way around, I probably wouldn't have had the confidence. I probably would have moved to back down south and stayed with the safe option. But I'm glad it happened in the order that it did, because it then meant I had to work really hard to make it work, because I didn't have any cash at that point. So it was what it's like when you're setting up a business, that the money doesn't come rolling in straight away. You've got to work at it. You've got to grow your client list. You've got to deliver and be able to showcase that to prospects and whatnot. It was a lot of hard work.
Yeah, it's nothing like a bit of pressure to get the money in to pay the bill.
I don't like getting divorced, but I like the pressure. I think a certain amount of pressure is actually a really positive thing. Yeah.
Okay, so tell us about the book then. So the Ambition Accelerator, the working woman's guide to powering up your professional.
Yes. So this is like my lockdown project. So literally last year, a year ago, almost to the day, I did my TEDx talk at the Royal Conservatoire in Birmingham. And I was invited to do that TEDx talk off the back of writing my first book, From Learner to Earner, which is a guide for students to help them get a graduate job. And that book created lots of opportunities. And one of those was to do this TEDx talk. And my plan was to go and do a TEDx, and because it was ages away, I got asked to do it. It was like 8 months away or whatever. I was like, this is scary, but it's an opportunity that I can't say no to. So I'm going to say yes and kind of work out what I'm going to say and how I'm going to do it. And then obviously it got closer, and then with a TEDx, you've got to have, I think it's 3 prep meetings, and you know there's quite a sort of process that you go through. And I went to have and I write about this in the introduction to the book, but I went to have my first meeting about the TEDx, and I'd come with this idea. I can't even remember what the idea was now that I was going to base this talk on, but it was a very work-based, you know, something around employability, I think. And I was chatting to Leslie Taylor, who's incredible, who's at Birmingham City University, and we get on really, really well. And I was talking through this idea, and she was sort of nodding away, and she said something to me about, you know, where do you get your grit from? That's what she said to me. Where do you get your grit from? And I sort of started telling her a bit about, you know, some of my backstory and, you know, setting up the business and some of those early years and stuff. And she said to me, this is great. She said, can you talk about this in your talk and share some of this personal stuff? You know, that's your story. Mm-hmm. And I thought, oh my God, that's the last thing I want to do. You know, I would say I've become a lot more open in the last year or so in terms of sharing things like that, because, you know, I am a single parent, and I think there's a lot of negative connotations around that. And actually they're just wrong. And I want to be a role model, I guess, for some of the more positive aspects, and certainly want to be a role model for my daughter. So when she asked me this, I kind of, like, honestly, I just thought, I felt sick as soon as she said it. And then I thought, right, okay, actually that will be an interesting story. And, you know, at that point I was winning loads of awards. The business, you know, was doing great. We were getting lots of recognition for things. So we ended up calling it The Truth Behind the Show Reel. So you can find it. It's on YouTube now. And I did this talk, and I just, oh God, I just felt sick. And afterwards, the TEDx give the audience an opportunity to meet the speakers, and, you know, you go back on the stage and people can come up and chat to you. And this young lady came and had a chat with me. She was about, I'd say, mid-20s, and she seemed a bit upset. She said, can I ask you a question? Yeah, of course you can. And she was telling me this story about how she was working for a family business, and she was feeling really under pressure in terms of work-life balance. And she was asking me, you know, how do you get a work-life balance? And I started laughing, and I just said, it just doesn't exist. Like, it really doesn't exist. You know, and I talk about this in the book. You've got, in terms of work life, what are the main things we look at? We look at your actual work life. We look at relationships, whether that be with a partner, whether that be with your friends, a social life, your health, finances, maybe, you know, all these sorts of things, and family. And you've never, to have a balance of all of those things, you know, by the nature of the word balance, as soon as something shifts, you're out of balance. So it is just impossible. And I think my view is you can only prioritize a couple of things at one point, and that might change, and you might prioritize something 1 month and something whatever. So I just told her it straight, and she looked a bit upset, but kind of understood, I think, that where I was coming from with that, and hopefully felt a bit reassured. We had a really good conversation. And then when lockdown hit, literally 2 weeks after I did this talk, I started thinking, oh, it would be nice to just for myself to write maybe like a bit of a backstory, exploring, you know, some more of those things that I covered within the TEDx, because 15 minutes for a TEDx talk, there's only so much you can say. Mm-hmm. So I started jotting things down. I am an early bird, and in March last year, I just could not sleep. I was so worried about the business. You know, a lot of our business was in-person events. So I was waking up at 3-4 in the morning, just feeling really anxious, like trying to work out what the heck we were going to do at that point. So I started using that time to start writing. Started writing, you know, making all these notes, writing things down, and then the idea evolved, and I started thinking about, I wonder if other people would want to get involved in the book. You know, I know some incredible women, and I've since been introduced to even more incredible women, and I thought if I could include their stories, their advice, it's going to add more, because, you know, my story is one story, and advice from women from different backgrounds, from different industries, I thought would really, really add value. Mm-hmm. So I reached out to a handful of women to start off. Trying to think who I approached first now, but there was a few of the women that I approached first. I think Sarah Davies was one of the first, Alice Hall, a few others, Aisha Nayar, a great friend of mine, and just started saying, look, I'm doing this. I'd love to interview you. If we record it, we can use the footage for a podcast, which is also out today. So the first episode's out today with Sarah Davies. And, can I have an hour of your time to ask you some questions and then pull bits out that are going to go into the book? And I got a great response. So started booking people in for that. I then had a conversation with Simone Roche at Northern Women. She is incredible. And, if she doesn't know someone she knows everyone. She's like you, super connected, knows everybody on the scene. So I was telling her about the book and she was so enthusiastic, so supportive. And I was talking about different industries where I felt there was a gap because I wanted to get ladies from like STEM backgrounds, tech in particular, areas where we are as a nation trying to encourage more women to go into. So she did some incredible introductions. She introduced me to Jacqueline de Rocas, Sherry Kutu. She introduced me to Laura Morgan, who's incredible, all incredible women. Dame Julie Kenny, she introduced me to as well. So that was just brilliant. And then alongside that, I think I did a post on LinkedIn saying, I'm looking to interview some incredible women. Who would you suggest? Oh my God, I must have been like 200 names I think I had in the end. And I started writing them all down and looking at who'd been recommended a few times, reaching out to women on that. So got some great women through that. So Katie Leeson came through a LinkedIn recommendation. She's incredible, doing some super cool stuff on social, mental health awareness, brilliant post there. Stephanie Kaufman, she approached me actually through the LinkedIn post. She's based in New York. Brilliant, so I got this just fantastic range of women giving me their time. Had a bit of imposter syndrome when I was interviewing some of them, if I'm being honest, because they would, it was just like accolade after accolade, and they've all got just tremendous stories, but the value that they brought to the book was just brilliant. So you'll see in each section there's a little bit of a power up with and then a story or a bit of advice from one of the women. So yeah.
Well, some familiar names there, and all of them that I'm aware of, incredible people. Well, incredible women, but just incredible people, incredible leaders, incredible at what they do. So it's your story and your thoughts about your experiences, but also some contributions from
yeah. So it's kind of like a little bit of backstory, which was the original plan, and then it moves into a guide. So in terms of the topics, I have to have a little look at my thing now, but it's stuff around. So I've split it into sections. So I've got a lifestyle section which talks about this myth of work-life balance and things about sleep and about some well-being stuff. Then I've got a whole section around building your network, which I think is super important. Finding your tribe, role models, teamwork, and then harnessing your potential, which is more about your personal brand, asking for help, making decisions, resilience, imposter syndrome. All of these topics that we come across in our careers, and are particularly when you're starting out on your career and you're unsure about a lot of these things, and you're not feeling as confident. Confidence does, unfortunately or fortunately, come with age. And a lot of the stuff in here is stuff that I wish I'd known when I was 20 or 25.
Yeah. No, I love it. Well, I'm looking forward to reading it, because that really resonates with me. And on the whole thing about work-life balance, everybody's trying to get balance in their life, but inevitably there's different times of the year, times of the week, times of the day when you're going to be out of balance, aren't you? Where things are going to be going great in one area and not so great in another, and that's okay for a short period of time, as long as I think people just have to accept that is the way it's going to be. If sometimes things might be going amazingly well in business, but in your personal life, your relationships might be under a bit of strain, and that's okay for a little while. But if that's carrying on for too long, then that's when the problems in relationships fail, and that's happened with me as well. But and your health as well. Sometimes your health does suffer, and there's friends of mine who talk about this as well, where sometimes you just have these periods where you just have to work flat out. You just have to, like, you've got a week, 2 weeks, or even a month or whatever, and that's okay. But you've got to build in some recovery time after that as well. That's or you know that you're going to have that intense period coming up. Book a holiday straight after. Make sure you have time.
Totally agree with that. I had there was a I think because last year was just so bonkers for everyone. I found that I didn't really take any proper time off last year, because I just thought, what's the point? There's nowhere to go. There's nothing to do. But then what happened is we hit our busy time in the autumn. That's our sort of busiest time in SRS. And I was kind of on the verge of burnout, I think, then, when I look back now. And the way that it sort of manifested itself in me was that my knees started hurting. I'd started going running and I was loving it. I was getting really into it. And my knees started hurting and they were getting worse and worse. And I thought it was because I was running, and I was so annoyed, because I was like, I found something that I enjoy and I'm getting quite good at it, and I, you know, all these health benefits. And then I got to the point where I couldn't walk up the stairs in my house, and I was telling my my PT about it and telling some friends about it. You need to go, blah, blah, blah. And I went to see this physio, and he looked at my knees and stuff, and he asked me a load of questions, and then he looked at my back and my neck, and I've always had tension. I always have tension in my neck and the top of my shoulders, always, and you just crack on, but I'm aware of it. Anyway, he asked me all those questions, and it turned out that my knees were stressed, right? This is what he says to me: you've got stressed knees. I was like, what? He's like, how is that even a thing? And he said, what's happening is your body is so stressed that you're getting all this tension up here, and it's working its way down, and it's putting the pressure on your knees, and that is the thing. And it was just like this kind of light bulb moment of like, oh my God, like, you're right, I am feeling really stressed. And I knew that, you know, I wasn't sleeping very well. I was working silly hours, and I felt under pressure. And, you know, I remember getting quite upset actually with one of my co-directors, which is very unlike me. I wouldn't say I'm emotional at all at work. And I think when I have been, I choose my moment to sort of have a cry in front of the team. But I was thinking, I just felt really overwhelmed by everything last year. And when this physio said this to me and I started reflecting on it, I was like, this is just so right. So I started doing, you know, like you say, you've got to react to it and plan things and whatever. So I took a little bit of time off and started planning some nice things. I stopped running, but I started doing yoga. I mean, I've always done yoga, but started doing more yoga because it was a bit more gentle and blah, 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 and all this stuff. Mm-hmm. And I noticed a difference straight away. And I'm still seeing the physio at the moment. I go every week, and he's almost like a therapist now. I'll tell him what I've been up to and things, but I really noticed the difference. And when things ramp up again, I feel it in my knees. Yeah. And it's so weird, but like, you've got to plan these things. Now I can manage it. So you know, I'm going to the physio at lunchtime today, and this week is insane. There's all sorts going on this week, and I do feel a bit stressed. I'm not sleeping well, so I recognise all those signs. Yeah. But I'll do things to balance it out. So, you know, when I'm feeling stressed, I don't drink a lot of alcohol anyway, but I cut that out completely because I know it impacts my sleep and stuff like that, or healthy eating, or a bit of exercise. But I'm back running and all those positive things. So, yeah, it's interesting, isn't it?
Yeah, it's interesting how it manifests in your body in ways. But like after this week, because this is an intense week for you, see if you can go a bit easy next week. Yeah. And like, because it's exciting. Obviously, you're running on adrenaline as well, and it's really, you know, you got your book out today. You're going on the Steph McGovern show tomorrow. You're going on.
Yeah, going on Steph's packed lunch tomorrow. So I was saying to you earlier, I don't know if I'm more excited about getting on a train, which used to be my daily life almost, or certainly weekly pre-pandemic. But yes, I'm going to the studio in Leeds tomorrow. I'm going to be on the show at lunchtime. Talking about digital assessment centres, so something that I know a lot about, something that we do a lot of in the business. So yeah, I'm dead excited about that. It's going to be cool.
Yeah, exciting. Well, I'm looking out my flat window now. I can see the train lines. I see trains going past all the time, but there's never anyone on it. So
even better. It might be on time then.
Yeah, but I would love to. Yeah, I love going on the train, and I miss going up to Edinburgh or going down to Leeds or London. That's something I'm looking forward to doing as soon as I can.
I know. I've never been so long not going to London, like in my working life. It feels really surreal. And, you know, pre-pandemic, I was doing at least a trip or two a week to, you know, London, Leeds, Manchester, Liverpool, you know, all the time. It's really weird, and I do miss it. And we have a joke in our team about always being delayed, and I was always like the bad luck charm. If someone was on a train with me, guaranteed it would be delayed. But I've got a lot of positive memories about being on the train as well. You know, I like working on the train. I find that quite relaxing, and I like when we were running our events in the football stadiums, we would work really long days doing those, but on the way back we'd all buy cocktails in a can. That was our team thing. And it's not quite the same when you're doing it over Zoom. So yeah, I'm really excited about that, and looking forward to things like that coming a bit more back to life in the coming months, really.
Yeah, well, things are easing up now, so yeah, it's gonna get better for everyone. So talk a bit more about the book. Are there any sort of common themes that are in there that the women that you've interviewed have talked about, or these are barriers that you would say are prevalent?
So I would say some of the more interesting things that I think we spoke about would be, so one of the ones that I found really interesting was talking about the importance of choosing a romantic partner well.
Oh, yeah.
So, some of the women that I spoke to work with their husbands or partners, and that was going really well, and they were very positive about that, and they had tremendous relationship. I'm sure they have some problems at various points, but they were talking about it as being a very positive thing, and the value that brings to the business as well as the relationship. So that was really interesting. And then there were some women on the other side of that who, some of them had worked with partners but were no longer with them, and they were talking about how that can be challenging sometimes. But we were talking a lot about how having a supportive partner, that's the key thing, will actually advance your career or your business if you've got a business, whereas the opposite, it's better to not have one that's holding you back, that's telling you that you can't do things and that you're not good enough to do things, or that they resent the time and the effort that you want to put into work if that's what you've chosen to do. So that was really interesting. The other thing was this imposter syndrome thing. So there was a couple of women. There was Laura Morgan was hilarious because she said to me that she hadn't heard the term until recently, and I thought that was unusual. And she's a very confident lady, very very confident indeed. So it was interesting to that she hadn't heard of that. But even women that are more advanced in their careers, that that have been working for a long time, even they still suffer from some level of imposter syndrome. And they were talking a lot about how they approach it and how they try not to feel it or not to let it sort of overpower them. And I thought that was really important for women that are starting out on their careers, that probably feel that all the time because they're just sort of getting off the blocks with things. I thought it should be, I hope, reassuring for them to see these women, many of whom they'll recognise and know, to see them talking about their experiences of it. And I couldn't include everything in the book, so I definitely recommend that people check out the podcast as well, because I've got the full interviews on the podcast available on all the usual places, when we're releasing one each week. And just some of the stuff that they spoke about around that, it was so powerful. So I hope people will go and listen to those, because just some of the stories are just incredible. They really are.
Amazing. And what's the name of the podcast? So people can...
So really easy to find, because it's the same name as the book, so really easy to find, and it's everywhere. And we're releasing an episode. I think we're doing it. What are we on today? Wednesday. I think we're doing one every Wednesday. So today, Sarah's is out today. I can't remember who's next, but we're doing one a week. Obviously, I'll be sharing those as they come out as well. But I listened to Sarah's this morning, actually, when I saw it was out, and because one of the first interviews that I think I did hers back in in May last year, and so I'd kind of forgotten about it a bit, and I didn't edit them, so I haven't listened to it recently. And I was listening to it, and I was just thinking, oh yeah, it was great, you know, hearing her talk about how she got to sort of set up her business, and some of her early entrepreneurial stories were just brilliant. You know, she's incredible. So it was good. It was, even for me that had actually done the interview, to listen to it again this morning, I was like, yeah, that's really great.
I'm going to listen to it. Yeah, so Sarah Davies, Crafter's Companion.
Yeah.
Mega successful.
Yeah, brilliant.
Is it like Durham area, Teesside area? That's where she's
yeah. So she's a local lass. You know, got a phenomenal business that's just super successful. Obviously, she's her profile is really high right now because she's on Dragon's Den as well. So yeah, she's brilliant. Just really honest, really down to earth. Great advice that's relevant to everybody. And that was the thing about all of these women. You know, some of them, you know, I spoke to Julie Kenny, she's a dame. You know, 3 or 4 of the women I spoke to have got CBEs or OBEs or MBEs, and, you know, incredible women that have won all sorts, had all this career or business success, yet everything they were saying is applicable to everybody. It was, you know, it's just great, solid advice, very humble stories, and just so much value.
Yeah. I love hearing stuff like that, and like I know the main focus of the book is it's a guide for women in their careers, but not just in their careers, but if they want to start their own business or whatever stage in life or whatever they want to pursue, it's how they can achieve their aims and overcome any barriers that they might have. But I think, you know, men as well, you know, anybody can benefit from listening to this sort of advice. And so I'm definitely going to listen to it, and I'm loving hearing what you're saying as well. And it's interesting, the whole imposter syndrome. I mean, it is a real thing. It is definitely a real thing. But I think a lot of it is, I think, it's nerves and like if you're trying something new for the first time, you're always like, especially if you're entrepreneurial or you're ambitious and you're wanting to grow in your personal life, professional life, your career, start a business, you're always going to be leveling up, aren't you? So every time you get to a new level, you've got a new, I don't know if you're into games on gaming, there's always like a big boss at the end of the level.
My daughter plays Mario, so that I can relate.
You know what I mean? But there's whenever you level up, there's always some new challenge, bigger, badder person that you have to beat, right? And that's okay, but you do level up. You learn by doing, and from the people around you, and surrounding yourself with good people. But yeah, it doesn't matter how much success you've had or how many awards that you've had. You're always, if you're that way inclined, you're always going to have those feelings at some point. But it does get easier the more you do it, and if you surround yourself.
How do you handle it then? What would be your advice?
I definitely. Just by doing it, just like, but also, you know, I don't just rush into things. I do think things through quite carefully, but I'm up for anything really. I'm up for trying anything and giving it a go. But I do ask advice. I do talk to a lot of people and get their thoughts, and people who are like a little bit further on than me. I think that's the thing that's really good about your book and what you're talking about as well, is that sometimes when you have someone like right up here, like mega successful, it can seem so hard to achieve. So it's good to have someone more relatable who you can think, oh, well, they sound like me, or they look like me, or I know where they grew up, and they're just a bit further on than me. So if they can do it, why can't I? So I think that is really, really important.
And that was a lot of where the thinking of the book took it to where it is now, because, you know, when I was starting out, particularly when I moved into setting up the business, but, you know, I mean, I've always been sort of focused on career and stuff, but I'm a big reader. I read every day without fail. I read for at least an hour every day. It's my thing to kind of make me switch off. Usually I read like crime books and like serial killers and all that stuff, because that does definitely switch me up. But like, when I was reading business books, which I still do, you know, I love a good business book. When I was reading sort of, you know, autobiographies and things, I found them inspiring, and I really did, and I read some great ones. but I didn't find them huge. It was hard to relate, that point that you've just made there. It was hard to think, oh, that could be me at that point. And there wasn't any really practical advice with it. And then you would get, on the other hand, you would get books that were kind of self-help books, I suppose, or personal development books, where they give you all the advice, but you were looking at the author and thinking, well, where's your credibility to be giving that advice? Where have you been? What's your journey to be able to say that works and things? So I wanted to have something that was a bit of both. So, I've done a lot in the last few years in particular, but I've done a lot. These women have done a lot. So there's the credibility bit, but I wanted to have actions. So at the end of every section, there's an action, right? Take action. I can't remember what I call it, but, go and do this. And there's things there that people can do, and there's suggestions of things that they can do so that they can implement things that are going to make a difference, that I know make a difference because I've done them all. It's all advice that I've taken myself. And that was really important for me, because I thought, well, if someone reads it, they should be inspired by some of these stories, but also they can go and do stuff that's going to have an impact and it's going to, increase their success at work.
Yeah, I really like that, because I know totally what you mean. And it's the same with events as well. So I've been to so many events over the years where, you fly in Richard Branson and he's like, yeah, great, screw it, let's do it. Yeah, okay, but what does that actually mean? How do you do it? And and if you're not careful, bringing in these big name celebrity entrepreneurs, business people, yes, they're exciting and interesting, but it can reinforce that feeling that to be successful, you have to come from somewhere else, or it's too much of a jump. So that's definitely something with the Newcastle Startup Week events that I've been running. I wanted to use local, homegrown business leaders, entrepreneurs, or people who'd moved to the area. That was important to me, because I wanted the audience to see, well, you can do it. Look, there's these amazing world-class people right on your doorstep. Well, they've done it. Why can't you? And I think that's one of the things that people have liked the most about the Startup Week events, is that it has been that kind of local, homegrown, grassroots focus, that people get inspired from. So that's and that's why I'm wanting to do these interviews as well with people like you.
No, it's great. It's all great stuff, and I think there's so much value from Newcastle Startup Week, and so many future great stories, I'm sure, that are going to come from people getting involved and getting involved with the community. And it's that inspiration and those contacts and all of those great things, isn't it? And making it relatable so that people feel like they've got enthused enough to go out and do it, but it's achievable, and they just need to take some action, because that's what it's all about, isn't it? It's about taking the next step and breaking it down and doing something. Yeah. It's as simple as that. Yeah,
no, definitely. And just quickly, I'll talk a bit about what you're saying about partners, right? So I think it's so important to be surrounded by the right people, and it's not just like partners. It can be your family and your friends. Sometimes, unfortunately, they can hold you back. And I think as well, depending on your family, if you've got an entrepreneurial family, you've got people in the family chances are you're probably more likely. It's not to say you definitely will, but you're probably more likely to think it's doable to start your own business and be successful, right? But if you've not got anyone in your family or none of your friends or anyone around you done it, what you're wanting to do, whether it's start a business or the career path that you want to go to, then that is a challenge. And I definitely think in the Northeast, Sweetened Statement, but I think there is a bit of like, oh, well, it hasn't been done here before. So, well, who do you think you are to do that? And not just the Northeast, there's other areas where that goes on as well. The tall poppy syndrome as well, where do you know what I mean? I think it's a British thing.
I totally agree with that. And back to some of the women that I was talking to, there was some of them that do come from very entrepreneurial families. So I suppose it was kind of in their blood, if you like. For me, I am not from an entrepreneurial family. My family are very traditional. They've all got very traditional jobs. My dad was a structural engineer. My mum was a social worker. My I've got two brothers. One's a teacher. One works as a head of finance for an NHS trust. So very, very traditional jobs. Yet I do look back, and I was definitely very entrepreneurial as a child. I talk about some of my early escapades in the book, and they're quite embarrassing, if I'm honest. So I used to always get my next door neighbour involved in my in my ideas. So we used to go and buy penny sweets from the shop and stretch them and sell them for 2p, and sell stuff from our parents' houses and garage sales and all sorts of different things. And I remember my next door neighbour, I'm still really good friends with her now, and her parents always used to say to me, "You're going to be a businesswoman," and they said it in it was like an offensive thing rather than a positive thing. And they've got sort of local government jobs and things, so I can kind of see why they would have thought that, but I didn't really know what it meant then, and I didn't really get it, and it just wasn't even on my radar at all, having a business, setting a business up at all, until that opportunity came to leave John Lewis and go and do something. And actually what prompted that, interestingly, was that when I knew that I was going to go, I looked at jobs in the Northeast, because I thought, well, if I don't want to move for this job, I want to stay in the Northeast. Like I said earlier, I had an 8-month-old baby at this point. I wanted something local, and I started looking at jobs at that level in the Northeast. There weren't very many. And they weren't doing the bits that I enjoyed. I had, as I said, really love graduate recruitment, and I love all of those things. And I considered working for a university. I thought that might be quite interesting. And actually, at some point, I think I would like to have a job or something, maybe quite a cool job, like visiting professor or something like that. That would be pretty cool. But I'd love to do that. So something like that. But yeah, I considered all these different options, and a lot of it was down to the salary not being, I was on a great salary when I left John Lewis. Although ironically, then go and set up a business, clearly the salary at the beginning was nowhere near that, but it had the potential, and I could always see the potential for it. And I knew it would do well. But yeah, it's just funny, isn't it? It's funny how things pan out.
But again, that's why I think it's important to surround yourself with the right people. So like the right friends, or people who are going to like boost you up and encourage you, and romantic partners as well. And like, also you can't choose your family, right? And you might really love your family, and they might really love you, and they're trying to say things because they care about you and they're worried about you, right? But I've learned sometimes you just have to, like, you can listen to them, you can hear them, but you don't have to listen to them. Do you know what I mean? You can like filter it out and just be careful who you listen to, right? So I've definitely, over the years, I've become more entrepreneurial by surrounding myself with entrepreneurial people. And when you hang out with exciting, innovative, creative, curious, passionate people, it can't help but have that rub off on you. And I've still got my old mates from school. They're my best mates. That like I'll always be mates with them. But they're a different group of friends. Like we just talk utter rubbish when we go out, and never talk about work. And like work-wise, we've got absolutely nothing in common with each other. But we're just mates who've known each other for 30 years, and we'll always be mates, right? And then I've got my business mates, and I've got different groups that I hang around with. But that's why I think not only that, but events, again, I keep talking about events. If you don't have those people around you to then go to an event or where you're surrounded by 800 like-minded, supportive people, you're going to be more likely to explore the ideas of starting a business or make that jump or start something along the side. So and books is definitely books.
Yeah.
I mean, I've got a bookshop. But every one of those books, I don't just read books. I do usually implement something. I'll take something from it and I'll do something off the back of it. So surrounding yourself with the right people is important.
I honestly think that's a game changer. I really do. I can't remember when we were chatting the other day whether I told you this story, but when I moved back, in fact I did, it's ringing a bell now, but when I moved back to the Northeast, when we set the business up, I started going to local networking events. So this would have been in 2013, and they were very traditional, especially compared to London, which is a bit more diverse. And I felt uncomfortable. I was a new business owner. I didn't know anyone on the Northeast scene, and the Northeast scene, it is quite small, really, isn't it? We're like, probably between us, we probably now know nearly everyone, I would imagine. So it is quite a small scene, and I felt uncomfortable. So I then sought out specific women's only groups at that point, just to give them a go and see whether it would feel any different. And it did. And I met a great bunch of women at what was a Forward Ladies networking event at that point in 2013, 14. And I've got a group, I think there's 7 of us in our group. And we are just a solid group. We've all got different, some have got businesses, some are in corporate careers. But what we all share is a passion to progress with whatever it is that we're into. And we set up this group on Messenger shortly after we started sort of meeting and having these conversations. And initially it was to just chuck in challenges and problems like, this is happening, what do you think? And we're all from very different backgrounds in terms of the industries that we're in. Useful just to get perspectives on things. And then it evolved. We're great friends now. It's not just about business, it's everything. And that's ideal for me, because I love talking about business, but it can't always be about business. But we chuck challenges in still, but we celebrate success, we lift each other up. All of us at some point have had some challenging personal times, and we've supported each other with that. But when something goes well, they'll lift you up as well. And I think you just can't, it's so much value that you get from networks. And I talk about it in the book, Finding Your Tribe, and it's super, super important.
Amazing. Yeah, because it's kind of like I've never really been in it, but the concept of like having a mastermind, it's usually 7 or 8 people in a mastermind, and they're usually.
I've got a section on masterminds in the book as well. Yeah. I mean, I've been in a few, and some better than others, but I mean, great tool, but you've got to get the right people, because sometimes I've been in some where you kind of ideally you want to be in one where there's a couple of people that are a bit further on than you, and a couple of people that are not quite where you've got to, so that you can kind of help them but get advice from the others. But you need people to contribute evenly and to be committed to those groups. But I always had loads of value out of those, because you come out of them just feeling so energized and so excited by what someone else is doing, or they've given you an idea about something, a different perspective. And I'm a big fan. If you've not been in one, you flipping out with all the people you need to set one up.
I am in a little group that we meet every week, but I guess it's probably the closest to a mastermind. But most of my stuff's one-to-one conversations and consultations, and I've started doing a bit of coaching around that as well. But I get it. I understand, and some of the people that I know who love them, that's what this is. It works really well when people are all from a different industry, so they're not competitive, but they can learn from different perspectives, and like you say, everybody's there to sort of motivate and inspire and push and challenge each other as well. I guess what you don't want to be the top person that everybody's looking to you for advice all the time, and nobody's inspiring or challenging or motivating you.
I totally agree, because then really that's then mentoring rather than you getting something from it. So you need to pick the group wisely, and show up and be committed and do it. I've been in a couple of groups where it's the same people that don't turn up, or they turn up late, or they dominate things. I mean, only a very small handful of cases where that's been it. But I mean, at the moment, I'm in a group at the moment from a Business Accelerator course that I went on, and we were put into what we called an accountability group, and we always said, we'll stay in touch. We were doing this course down in London, and then when the pandemic hit, someone, it wasn't me, someone else suggested, should we jump on Zoom and just just have a bit of a catch up, see where we're at. And we did it, and it was so refreshing to see them again and like reconnect and stuff. And I think someone said, you know what, while the pandemic stuff's going on, it'd be really good to just do this every week. So now we meet every week on Zoom, 8 a.m. on a Friday morning. We have our coffee together and we just chat through the week and, you know, share some wins, share some challenges, like we proper challenge each other, like ridiculously so, like really challenging. And it's brilliant. And we've done it every single week, apart from Christmas week. We've done it every single week. And we all show up every week. It's only if someone's on holiday that they're not there. And what an incredible group, you know, to meet with them every single week and be getting that energy. And we have a bit of a joke now about Magic Friday, because after we've had that call, something really good always happens to someone. And then it goes into the WhatsApp group and, you know, we can get excited for them and stuff. But yeah, phenomenal group. I love all of that, because you come off the call like really raring to go for the day and dead excited about everything.
I love it. I think you can get energized from people like that, and I'm a firm believer in the verbalizing your ideas as well to make them become more real, right? So do you know? Have you heard the phrase "thoughts become things"?
Oh yeah, totally.
All that, right? So if anyone that doesn't know, you know, the key thing, a lot of people don't actually know what they want out of life, right? Or business or anything, right? They're just doing what they think they should be doing or what other people want them to do. So that again is important to be careful who you're listening to and who you're surrounded with, right? But once you get really clear on what it is that you want, then to focus on that every single day, but don't just think about it, actually follow it up with some real world action. That's the key thing. So I totally believe in that, and every good thing that's ever happened to me is because I've got clear on what I want and I've pursued it, right? But then you'll also know the phrase, you know, a problem shared is a problem halved, right? But I also think an idea shared is an idea that happens.
Ooh, I like that.
Okay? I think when you speak it out loud, it becomes more real to you, but also there's a reaction in the other person. So before, when you said you wanted to be a visiting professor, I think that's going to happen now because you said it.
I did. Yeah. I need to put it on my vision board. That is going on my vision board. I totally want to do that. I'd love it.
Because you said that, and I'm like, oh, well, I know some people who could make that happen, right? But there might be people listening to this or watching this who go, oh, well, we work at university. Yeah, well, that's a good idea, because I have like the David Goldman visiting professor at Newcastle University and have similar. There's really no reason why you couldn't do that. So, and just like when you say you want to do a book or you want to start a business, tell people that you want to do it, because people aren't mind readers. But if you say what you want, it's more likely to happen. And it's that getting away from that waiting for someone to pick you.
I completely agree. It's so powerful, you know, just articulating your goals or your ideas. It's putting it out there, and then especially if you then follow it up with a bit of a plan and a timeline, and you're getting people to, you know, ask you about it and review it or whatever. Like, I absolutely agree. I am totally gonna do that as going on my list of things. And you know, I always thought vision boards and all that were a bit airy fairy. You know, I used to read about them and think, well, a load of rubbish, like cutting stuff out of magazines and sticking it on a pin board and things. And then I started doing it, and you know, mine haven't got airy fairy things on. They've got really tangible, powerful things on. And you know, I'm looking at it now because I've got one of them on my shelf, but I've done everything that's on it. And some of it, when I put some of those things on it, I was like, blimey, this is a bit, you know, out there. But it just formalizes things in some way. It brings it to life, and you know, I'm a big fan of goal setting. So yeah.
So what's next on your Ambition Accelerator?
I want to be a visiting professor, you know, get involved in something to do, you know, like sort of entrepreneurialism type role within a university, because I think that would be fun. I think I would really enjoy that. And you've got to have fun, haven't you, with all of this stuff? Because if you don't, it's just boring, isn't it? You've got to do all the stuff. You've got to still be excited about things. You know, I guess other things that I am excited about at the moment is, you know, we are doing in SRS, we're doing a lot with digital. You know, we've got our new assessment platform. We're getting loads of interest in that from employers as well as universities, and it's a fantastic system. So that opens a lot of doors for us, because we've always wanted to work with international universities to do our assessment centre simulations, and now we can, because there's no barrier. So we've done I think we've done 3 or 4 international assessment centre simulations now. We did one in Australia that we had to start at 5 a.m. to fit in with the time over there. We've done the one with uni in Spain. We've got a few others. So I want to do more with that in terms of the international stuff, growing the business. We sit within a group, the Career Paths Network group now. So, there's lots going on within the group, which is super exciting. And then it's, thinking a few years down the line to what next. And the charity stuff that I've been involved in is really interesting. It's really, cheesy, but it's rewarding, and it really is. So it's thinking about, well, what can that lead to? And you've always got to just be looking on to the next thing, haven't you? Because otherwise you get a bit stuck, and that's what excites me, I think, always thinking about what's the next challenge, what can I do next? And
yeah, you've got to keep yourself motivated and inspired, as well as other people around you as well. So and I'm totally convinced and confident that whatever you want to do, you'll be able to do it. So thoughts become things. So okay, so we'll just say again, the book's out now, The Ambition Accelerator. It's available as a paperback and a Kindle edition on Amazon right now. But if the Kindle edition is only 99 pence, and if anyone buys that today or tomorrow, is it all the profits go to Smartworks?
The full sale, yeah, the whole thing.
Yeah, amazing. So encourage people to buy that today and tomorrow, or whenever they watch this or hear this. And then good luck for your interview tomorrow, and good luck for the rest of the week and the book launch. And if anyone wants to follow you on social media, what's your Twitter handle?
I'm on everything these days. I'm most active on LinkedIn and Twitter, but I am on Instagram and Facebook as well. Okay,
amazing. All right. Well, we'll leave it there then, and I'll let you get on with the rest of your day and all the other exciting things that are happening.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Sophie. Love talking to you. Okay.
Thanks, Paul. Thank you.
See ya. Bye.
Bye.